at that time, I didn't really understand the importance of disability services.
Did you always envision yourself working in this type of
I
space?
just walk with a limp, and that's what it. Like there's words that kind of, make it feel like that can degrade a lot of us.
As a young teenager, like I used to come and talk to you all the
It
time.
can be a barrier because of the lack of understanding of different cultures. It limits us from actually doing, what we want, and limits our potential.
Thank you, Chris Balos, for joining us today on MEI the podcast.
Yellow, and welcome to episode 9 of MEI the podcast. If you're new here, my name is Marcina Langadine, and I'm the operations coordinator here at the Marshallese Educational Initiative. As the women's programs coordinator, I focus on domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and gender-based violence.
And I'm Matthew John. I'm a project specialist here at the Marshallese Educational Initiative, working on a very special project featuring Mark Harmony. Stay tuned.
As a reminder, it's crucial that we share our voices, perspectives, and as an intercultural nonprofit, dialogue with other communities. We also need to take back the narrative on issues that others have controlled for too long.
As we continue to share how we're working here at MEI to strengthen our community, we want to invite you to join us. Please take a moment to follow, like, share, and even comment on our episodes. Kamal Tada, and thank you for listening and for your support. Now let's get into the next episode, as we got a great one for you all today. Today we have with us Chris Balos. Chris Balos is from the Marshall Islands and moved to the States at 2 years old. Chris has been living in Northwest Arkansas for 10 plus years and is with Arkansas Support Network. Chris, how are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous, but okay.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's a great honor.
Appreciate you.
So, Chris, can you tell us your story and what you do for work?
My story is I was born back home, and I think when I was 2, I was unable to walk. So it was kind of like my way to come to the States. So I came out to the States for like medical reasons and stuff. And fast forward to what I do now, I work with families with individuals living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So.
And how long have you been doing what you're doing right now?
So I've been with my current agency about 7 years now. So I mean, prior to that, just the realm of disability services was still kind of new for myself and so many Rwanda families. But yeah, I think for me, like, having my own disability, it's not like intellectual and developmental disabilities or anything like that, but it was still kind of close to home in a sense. So I think that's why I'm still with this agency. What this agency is called Arkansas Support Network, and yeah, it serves families or individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in their day-to-day life and stuff.
Yeah, and I think you play such an important role in our community because you're like a pillar or a bridge, like you said, home. So they have someone from home that they can go to when they're looking or seeking for this help. And I think that's very important. And I'm very glad we have someone like you in our community.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I know. It is just disability in general it's tough. And understanding services it's even more tougher when you don't see a lot of people that may have the experiences of accessing services, or a lot of families are still new to the States. So even understanding what that looks like, I can see why it can be difficult for many of our own to access these services.
Do you see a huge clientele of Marshallese clientele in your offices?
Yeah. I think when I first started, it was like majority. That was one of the reasons why I got involved. just to kind of help bridge our community with certain disability services, and just the overall understanding of what disability services looks like within our community. Because I remember when I first started, disability services was really not a thing, but now a lot of the families are starting to understand the importance of why disability services is important for the child or the individuals within the family. But yeah.
How can one family or one person access the resources? Is it through like the hospital? Do they have to go through the hospital, through appointments, or can they come directly to your offices?
Yeah, they can go either or. It's always important to see the family's PCP first. That would be the first point of contact. And that way, the PCP kind of help the family help the family refer them to, these specialists that can help diagnose, these individuals or child, and even refer them to therapy if necessary. But yeah, that pretty much, if a family come through me, I would just kind of help them understand what that process looks like. Because like even many of our families really don't understand these individuals, whether PCPs, as certain specialists, and other key like health professionals that can really help the family and stuff.
Do you feel like anything is like misunderstood about disability service or disability in general?
Helping out families understand in their own way. Because we all have our own way of learning, or even getting support.
Yeah.
I feel like every family that I've been, work with, they all have, different, not really levels, but different way of learning these processes or these services. Some learn better by, going through it themselves, experiencing themselves, or some will need help with others, from others, or even, workshops and stuff like that. So I think the other thing that will be hard to, I feel like is, I think that one of the things I've seen that can be misunderstood about disability is like, what does disability looks like within our community?
Yeah.
I know we're, a faith-based community, and sometimes like disabilities, like with intellectual and developmental disabilities, it can be viewed as something spiritual and else, But yeah, I think it just depends.
Are there any like sort of challenges that you or some of the families have encountered when seeking resources and service?
Like Marshallese professionals in these spaces, it can get difficult for many families to access these services and resources. It's either there's no documents that are translated, there's no Marshallese professionals that can help support these families, whether it be interpreting or just to help them understand paperwork. So I feel like that's one of the main things. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of the families would, they can kind of like be a barrier if there's no one that they can't really feel comfortable around with, And seeing another Marshallese professional in these spaces can, bring up that comfort level.
The capacity that you serve, just like all organizations around here, there will always be barriers within the Marshallese community. One being, of course, the language barrier, and then understanding what disability is and how you can, how you assist others with that. And so I kind of wanted to ask, this job, that the capacity that you serve, did you always envision yourself working in this type of space, or was it just a job that, that you just stumbled upon?
Yeah, it's crazy because I've never really like even for myself, so like as someone that have lived with a disability, it was always something that I felt like I was embarrassed to be around with, just my own experience. Because I feel like I'm so prideful, just as a theologian. What's that called? Just I remember growing up, not being able to play sports and not being able to take part in all the, things I wanted to because, supposedly I was disabled and stuff like that. I can't do this, I can't do that. And I've always never wanted to get involved in and stuff like that. So I never really understood what, disability meant because I've never really took the time over it. But and then I think it was 2017, I was coming back from Mayo and I had a call. I got a call saying, there was a position that was open up with this agency that works with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And at that time, I didn't really understand what the importance of disability services. But yeah, I did kind of stumble upon it. Not by my own doing, but it was. I feel like it was destined in a way, because now the longer I've been with this agency or working with individuals with intellectual development disability, I'm starting to understand the importance of it. Why we need more modules in these positions and these spaces, whether it be in local agencies that work with these individuals or clinics, therapy clinics, the schools as well. I did kind of stumble upon it, but, naturally it just kind of warped into who I am now.
Talking about, your upbringing, do you see similar characteristics with current clientele, like they're very shy of doing certain things? Do you see similar characteristics with them? And if so, what are ways that you help your clients?
Yeah, I think the similarities that I've seen with like my own experiences and the families and stuff, it's so much just because, we're all Romanos and
right.
So there's, some of the similarities I see with some of these families are like, whether it be like the single mothers or, or the single parent dads. But me, I grew up with a single parent and seeing her go through all the hospital visits and stuff like that, it can be overwhelming in a way, I think that's one of the similarities I see with the families, with my own family experience. And personal experience, I feel like, you would kind of, for me, it's always good to put the individual at front as far as making decisions for themselves, regardless of their disability. So, I think that's one of the similarities I feel like I can kind of understand. So if it was, a young individual that's going to young adulthood and wanting to work, I think helping them navigate certain, vocational services, I think is always important. Or even at school, making sure like, the educational needs are there. But yeah, whether it be like therapy at school and stuff like that, or even more therapy outside of school. So as long as there's a plan that's set up with regards to what they want to, envision for themselves.
No, I think your agency definitely picked the right person.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen you. We've all seen you day in, day out with so many clients. And, not only do you help them with the resources that you have, but you also help them with Medicaid, with insurance. And so you do it all as an individual. And so, yeah.
He's like a unsung hero in our community.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I always try to, make sure people understand that I'm not no like health experts or anything like that. What I could bring to the table is just like the connection and the willingness to do it. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've been, doing what I'm doing these past 7 years, because I feel like really connected with the families I work with, not because Marshallese but it's a lot of their stories reminds me of my own upbringing. And, I just wanted to make sure that I'm able to do as much as I can for because one of the most important things us Ramajas really understand about individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they're here, they're part of us, so we can't just say, oh, them versus us or stuff like that, or just because I remember like one of the hard thing about having this, like living with a disability, even now, like I don't even consider myself as person with a disability. I just walk with a limp, and that's about it. Like there's words that kind of make it feel like that can degrade a lot of us. Like the words like "utami" and stuff like that.
Right.
It has those negative, like effects on individuals like myself. So it did kind of like affect a lot of my teenage years and all through high school, even my young adult life, because it limits us from actually doing what we want, and limits our potential in our own society. So I feel like me doing what I'm doing, I just kind of hope that it can be an example for others. To take part in the community, be involved in whether it be advocacy work or even stuff like this, be on a podcast talking about this life story, so just trying to, I guess I'm just really trying to do my part in our community. So
right.
I just want to take a second to commend you, because all the obstacles and trials and tribulations that you've overcome and had the courage to overcome has shaped you into a fantastic leader in our community. As a young teenager, I used to come and talk to you all the time because you're like that pinpoint person of guidance. I could always find comfort in like a big brother, because my big brothers, and they're your little brothers. So it's just kind of fit perfectly for me. And you've always been a figure that I can look up to. And I'm glad that a lot of people are being able to receive your help and your guidance and your service. Because I know that it's life-changing to have somebody like that in your life. But for families that are coming into the States, what would you say, and how would you help navigate them and guide them, having very little understanding of the healthcare system in the States?
I think the main thing is right now is just understanding the importance of what needs to be in place first. So even if they, may have any, whether health issues or even going through the steps with them, whether it be understanding the importance of health insurance, so that when they do seek the PCP, they don't have to worry about financial burdens, and having them understand the importance of a PCP and the difference between doctors. Because sometimes specialists can be viewed as a PCP for many of these families, because just like a lot of us, a doctor's a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Doctors are doctors, but trying to help them understand that each doctor has a different role.
Yeah. So understanding these foundational pieces of the health system, it's important, because without those, the understanding those foundations, it'll be hard for them, or a lot of our own families to go through. So even my personal experience, every time I have a family member that's coming, even with they have a health issue or any kind of disability, or even Yeah. I always make sure they, they understand what America knows. A lot of Americans know the importance that they have to have health insurance. They all have a PCP.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our families really don't understand that yet. So I think just understanding those certain societal things. I think it's one of the first thing I would kind of like walk through with the parents.
Mm. Could you tell us a little bit more about the importance of why us Ramajals should learn more about intellectual and developmental disabilities?
The main thing is another aspect of our community, because now we have family members that live with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the more we understand that, the more, we could better recognize a lot of our own families.
Yeah.
That are, so I think I feel like that's probably the main thing. It's just making sure that we're able to recognize our loved ones that are needing, supporting services, or just recognition,
Mm-hmm. Other than the typical barriers that we have, like language barrier, what other obstacles do you see that Marshallese families face when reaching out to resources?
I think one of the biggest barriers for many of my own is, that relationship. Because I feel like us Marshallese and not just relationship, but the different societal norms,
Mm-hmm.
So I know like a lot of here in America, it's much more direct, vocal,
Right.
eye-to-eye contact. And there's a lot of the stuff that our own families and friends are not used to back
Mm-hmm.
home. So when they come out here and, when they seek services or resources, that kind of like interaction might either intimidate them or even kind of like, push them away from accessing these resources or services. So understanding like these kind of societal differences is also important. And I feel like maybe it can be a barrier because of the lack of understanding of different cultures and stuff like that, So, and vice versa. So, because even a family that's not going to an appointment, it can be viewed as they're not really on top of things, or they just don't care and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
But in all honesty, a lot of these families just don't know,
I feel you on the whole eye-to-eye contact thing. As long as I've been here, I grew up in the United States, but for some reason, I still can't do eye-to-eye contact with others. And it's because, that's just how we all grew up. And in the professional setting, I'll try to make eye-to-eye contact, but I still look away. I'll still look away and have a conversation with you. And so it's just the norm for me.
A couple weeks ago, actually, at the youth camp for the RMI soccer team, we were with a lot of the youth from our community, and I realized like when our coaches were talking to us, like it wasn't just me; it was like the other teammates around me. They were looking down, and I saw that with the youth too. The youth, like my coach would try to talk to them, and then they would just be looking down, and then my coach would be like, "Is everybody okay? Like, why is everyone looking down?" It's like we're just not very good at eye contact, and I think that's a good thing to say for Marshallese and non-Marshallese people out there that are listening to this, because then they could understand us a little bit better. Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Is there any other important messages you'd like to share with Marshallese families out there?
Continue to recognize, our loved ones that are living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I think the more we understand services, resources, the better we can help support our loved ones. I think that's my main thing, is making sure that as a community, we recognize these individuals. Because, even before services and all that stuff, we're like their primary, resource for any of these kids and individuals. I think it's always good to seek help, whether we, getting help from agencies, community health workers, other professionals, health professionals. So I feel like it's always important to, seek these resources when you're able to. At the same time, anyone but out with that din bukunar as a community. Which I feel like Arkansas, we're doing great at. We got so many people that bukunar in these local agencies, these clinics and stuff. Everybody want to get involved. Everybody doing, and I feel like that's one of the main things is like when we're going through these, positions, we do it intentionally so that like when our loved ones are like, especially the ones in our community, like our families in these communities, when they come to these spaces, they can feel comfortable. And I feel like as professionals, it's important for us to really take the seriousness of these positions. So for me, like, I think that's one of the reasons why, I love where I'm at, because, and not just because the connection, like the similarities that I see or experiences, but I feel like, it's another way to give back to, our people, our stories, our loved ones, especially. So I think that's one of my biggest message for not just our listeners and families, but others that might want to get involved. So if you want to get involved, do it wholeheartedly and not just say, oh, it's another job, stuff like that. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why it may be hard to see a lot of Marshallese in these professional settings, because we don't have the avenues, or sometimes we don't take them seriously enough, So,
and for those watching or listening, how, if they have any questions, how can they reach you?
Yeah, they could reach out to me like in the emails, or like even so even like my personal Facebook and social media and stuff like that. I mean, I'm always open to sharing with everyone, especially like the families, a lot of the families, because crazy thing is a lot of the form of communication is through social media. Amongst us Marshallese. So I always make sure that communication is not a barrier. So even if they have some time, like if families need to reach out to me, I'm just making sure we do it in a professional capacity, like during professional hours, working
during the hours, not like 2 a.m.
So I mean, I think that's it's not a knock on like any family or anything like that, but I think it's we always make sure to help them understand like the what boundaries may look like when you're in your professional setting, and then when you're with family and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But I mean, it's cool. Like, so I think at the same time, it can be difficult trying to balance that, because balancing professionalism and personal, because for us Marshallese, it's a fine line between that, So, but yeah, I mean, they're always more than welcome to contact me.
As advocates, as community workers, I think the most important thing that you touched on today was that connection with the community. And I really do find that super important. And we as a community, we're super blessed to have you as an advocate for our Marshallese families here in Northwest Arkansas. And you being able to connect with them and through similar stories that you've had growing up, I always find that super important, and we're just glad to have you here. And I'm really happy that you've got to take some time out of your time today, be on our podcast. And so
thank you, Chris, for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Chris. Even if you're a Lakers fan, he'll get back to you. This guy's a big Kings guy, but
I don't know about the Lakers fans, but I try to keep it professional. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, very, very grateful to have you on the show with us today. On all seriousness, even if you're a youth out there looking for guidance, Chris is literally a great example of someone that you can talk to about anything, sports, music, all that, culture. You talk to Chris about anything, and this guy will give you all the information you need, because he's just that guy. He's him. So.
We definitely stand by that. Because we're always at your office bothering you, asking questions, talking stories. I don't mind. Well, that concludes our episode for today. Be sure to follow our YouTube channel and subscribe to MEI the podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. As we close today's episode, remember this: your story matters, your culture is powerful, and your journey, whether to higher education or deeper self-discovery, is worth celebrating. From one island soul to another, como tada, and keep shining. We're your hosts, Marcina and Matthew. And as always, we'll catch you next time.